episode number 61 with Steve and Mike. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And this is Mike Snyderman.
And I am about, 6 days away from flying down to see you?
It's exciting, Steve.
It is.
Not exactly Mardi Gras type excitement.
But close, right?
Not Greece, going to Greece excitement. It's better than Utah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of my recent travels here. No, it'll be fun.
Right on. Well,
Carlos is coming too.
He is.
And then me and Carlos are heading to Vegas for 4 nights right after he comes here. So.
Oh, are you? Okay, cool.
Too bad we didn't have a camera for that too. I'm sure we'll get in all sorts of there'll be a few stories to tell from there too. But
a little mischief.
Well, I don't know. Probably just two fat guys sitting around in a room eating hot dogs. But even that has a certain narrative possibility, I guess.
Yes. I got to apologize for the last episode. I got several notes from or messages from listeners on Facebook and Twitter that when I listened to it too, I heard it right off the bat as soon as I was listening to the last episode on my way to work in the car, and I noticed my voice was coming out of the left speaker, and Chris's voice was coming out of the right speaker, and I'm like, oh no, because I knew immediately what happened. And I did it, I think, on our second or third episode. I forgot to click. It's a real easy button to forget to click. It's the mono button. So you know, it makes the voices so that they both come in the same, equally on the left and right. And if you don't click on that, then you basically have voices in stereo. And you got one guy talking in the left ear, one guy talking in the right. And so I knew immediately what the editor had done. And anyways, this morning I let her know that I was going to be looking for somebody else. There was just a little too many mistakes that, I would send her videos and it was just getting frustrating. So I thought, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to re-edit the episode 60. So if you guys were listening to it and you found it like I did, almost unlistenable, go back. There's some really good content, especially about live tells. I'm going to just delete the... Actually, maybe I'll put just a second download up there. But go back, delete the episode, and then download it again, and it'll have the edited version. It'll be much, much better. So, yeah. But anyways, you were saying that just before we started here, Mike, you were saying that you thought the content was pretty good. You didn't even seem to notice the left ear, right ear thing.
I'm too dumb to notice that kind of stuff. I listened to it today. I'm walking on the beach. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought it was a good interview, Steve. See, I told you the show would get better when I'm not around.
I don't know about that.
It was like two people talking about poker. No dumb interruptions and this and that. So. Yeah, I like the live tell stuff.
Okay.
And just a good. Yeah, he's this guy knows his shit, obviously. So.
Yeah, I was really impressed by it when I was reading his article, and then when I brought him on, I was like, yeah, this guy, like you said, he knows his shit. He knows what he's talking about.
I mean, we've kind of got, I won't go to the same territory. I feel kind of, well, this will be good because we're going to hopefully get into some of the your pickup artist stuff, but I feel uncomfortable where you're being kind or friendly to gain an advantage over someone, which sounds silly since I'm trying to be a professional poker player.
What do you mean?
Is this why not just be friendly at the table? Because that's good for the, because he's talking about how you should be talking to people, finding out where they live because it increases your win rate.
Yeah.
Which is true. You said the same thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm the world's worst human being, but I have these bizarre little ethical glitches on my screen. So, I think I'm naturally kind of social there, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, some of that just it's just like I was talking about the guy who I mean, I guess if you're social just to gain advantage, it's also you might actually find the people interesting and enjoying it. But like I talked about when I was at Live at the Bike, the one guy I was just ready to, hey guys, drinks on me, and then I found out he wasn't even drinking.
Oh, the guy that was only drinking Red Bull.
Just give him a straight Red Bull with no vodka. Yeah. I'm like, dude, why just sit there with your headphones on?
Yeah.
don't pretend to be having fun with a bunch of guys when you're just, you have nothing but contempt for the other people around you, and you're just trying to squeeze every nickel out of them. So,
well, I think what he was talking about by that was I think he genuinely is fascinated by people. And I don't know, and I think, I at least the way I got it was, it sounded to me like he was genuinely fascinated by people and what they do and learning new things from them. And a side effect of that is that you happen to win more money at poker because you find out about them. And
well,
at least that's kind of...
I think it was the other way around. I think this is how to take advantage of people at a poker table. You show interest and talk to them. And oh, by the way, they can be interesting. You might enjoy it, which is fine. I mean, Steve, like I said, but anyways, like that kind of, like if we start to get into the PUA stuff, I don't know, like we're talking about the game, he gave all the suggested reading books. Did you read like neurolinguistic programming and
Yes.
some of this, like all this stuff about how to get people to do what you want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff just kind of, I think maybe I gave a couple examples where I was like working at a restaurant where this guy, he read all these management, books and stuff and how to get people to sell things and all this. I don't know. It's just, I don't know how I got sidetracked, Steve, but that's like, I know this stuff is right and I should use it to my advantage. The fact that I think I do though, like I'm naturally social with people, but I know I can bluff the people who like me more than the people who don't like me. Because like people get strong likes and dislikes from me pretty easy,
Yep. Yeah, you better have it when the guy don't like you.
Yeah, I think we already talked about that. Gavin Griffin wrote the article in Card Player about the hand I played. I can't remember if we discussed that hand.
No, I don't remember this one.
He was at the game. Gavin is?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's WPT champ, and he's one of the first stars of the game.
Yeah.
I think I thought we discussed this hand. I could be wrong, but
maybe
anyways,
this
was near the end.
My third beer on the podcast, and I don't remember.
Okay, this was near the end of day one of a 1K or whatever, and I had a lot of chips. And this guy, I raised a river a lot of time. It was kind of a bad play. I mean, it's kind of funny, but Gavin was interested in the hand, so he dissected it in the magazine article. He has a weekly column or monthly column for Card Player.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, it's kind of interesting. He's like, well, this is a guy who takes chances. He hasn't played much with me. He's probably this is the guy who takes chances. He can win poker tournaments that way. But he's also saying, well, he's addicted to fancy play syndrome, and that can hurt. Like all this analysis is pretty good. But he said he could tell this guy didn't like me, or he was frustrated from a previous play. So this is a bad candidate to bluff.
And he was talking about you.
No. The other guy didn't like me.
Oh, okay.
So because this guy was frustrated from a previous move, so yes, he's a nit who can get pushed around, but he had enough kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this hand he had trips. I was repping his hand. You know what I mean? I was trying to get him off one pair. But anyways, so yeah, this would be social dynamics 101. You have to be aware of that kind of stuff. But like I could say, just like when some people though are just like feigning. Like I'd rather be at a table with poker players who are just sitting there stone faced rather than pretending to be interested in people. I don't know, but
yeah, I guess the way I approach it is, at least I'd like to think, you're making me question this now, but I'd like to think that I genuinely am interested in the people when I sit down. I think anywhere. I think I'm pretty social, and especially when they have jobs that are just weird. Like I'm trying to think of an example now that I put myself on the spot. What's that?
No, you're a good guy, Steve. I'm not trying to make you question yourself here, but you were taking a little glee in like having this edge and knowing what this. Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason. Not in this podcast, but in anywhere where I hear like these, how to kill them with kindness kind of stuff just kind of bothers me. But yeah, and I politely. I probably should wear some. It's kind of funny how he was. A lot of pros are anti-sunglasses. I would think for the same reason that you want to be social with people, maybe you wouldn't want sunglasses at the table in a cash game if there's fish there, just so they're not intimidated.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if so that was interesting that I thought he was, but Yeah, I do have the Blue Sharks, although I think I told you my newest policy that, well, it's been like 6 months, is I don't wear them unless someone else at the table is wearing sunglasses.
Hmm.
I don't
See,
want,
I
I'm
wear
never
them.
the first person to put them on because like I do think it's kind of antisocial and bad for the game, but it's an edge for sure. So if someone else puts them on, mine are going on.
Yeah, I just wear them religiously. I'm trying to think of times where I don't, and it's always like little tiny low buy-in tournaments, like I don't know, $50 and below, just little ones for that I'll play out in Vegas with my friends and with my mom and Jacob and I played one, and yeah, those ones I don't wear. But any other time, cash games and like that, I don't. And I am a little bit aware of that, like you're talking about. It's kind of antisocial, but what I usually do is I just kind of put them on like they're like it's totally natural, and I immediately start talking with the people around me. So I don't think they ever. Maybe they do feel that, maybe they don't, but I just feel like it's too big of an edge not to wear them. You know,
Right.
if I can
I
see
mean, I
everyone
probably
else
agree with you.
and it's like
I'm not,
actually brighter and they can't see my eyes, like you know, I don't know what percentage you can assign to that, but just pulling a number out of my ass, I would say 3% edge, something I don't know, but it's got to be, you
yeah,
know,
I mean, as long as you're at least you're not one of those guys who's just. I mean, I used to not have sunglasses at all. I think like one of the first when I was at some tournament, I think it was Borgata, and I sit down at the table and we're not even, we're just counting our chips, and there's a guy just absolutely staring, sitting there ramrod straight, staring across the table at me.
just all awkward and stilted.
Yeah, just any good hell, not saying hello to anybody, and of course he's just a terrible player.
Yeah.
Needless to say. But it is uncomfortable. And it's like, okay, I'm not letting fucking, for me, it immediately becomes a macho situation. I'm not going to have some asshole pretending he's the Terminator staring at me.
Yeah.
It's like the very first hand, I like take a time and he just stares and I just stare back at him. I'm like, technically he might not even be looking at me now. So this is really weird.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, definitely have sunglasses. And especially if you're, yeah, a lot of the stuff that he was saying about looking at the person, not at the flop, and the flop's not going anywhere. I mean, this is all good advice.
Yeah. Yeah. That one I do religiously. It's maybe once every, I don't know, 50 hands or something. Once every couple of hours, I catch myself like looking at the flop instead of the player, but it's rare. I just make it a habit to look at whoever I'm in the pot with, or if I limped along with 5 or 6 other people, I kind of look and just get a peripheral view of the table and try to pick up any like someone just kind of rising in their chair a little bit, or any movements where someone double checks their cards, or anything like that. But if it's me and another guy in a pot heads up, I'm always looking at them. But his tip about like having a hat and looking with your hat like pointed at the flop, but out of the corner of your eye, seeing your opponent, that is spot on. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. That is exactly what to do. It.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I thought it was pretty good. If you guys couldn't stumble your way through it, go back again, listen to it again. Even if you already listened to it, go back and listen to the second version, because it really good stuff on Live Tales. But
I did think the one part where, of course, I would have you and I, different personalities, I would have dived into it. You're like, if you give one piece of advice to someone, he's like, play poker as a hobby, not as a profession. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you're right. That would have been a good.
And you just kind of moved on. That's not what Steve wants to hear. Steve wants to hear about how poker could be the best job in the world.
Yeah, you're right.
I want to hear about people talking about how it's fucking misery. You got to be crazy to try to do this for a living, kind of thing. But
maybe you would have delved into that one a little.
Some balance for it, but yeah, I mean, that's the one question you asked where I would have paused and asked him, do you have any friends who deeply regret this? And you've done well, but kind of stuff. It was a good interview, though, Steve. I thought very good. Like I said, great content. I learned a few things.
Cool. Thank you. So what do you have planned for Carlos and I?
Speaking of learning a few things, Steve, you're gonna help me pick up some women, I think.
Okay.
I think you're gonna give me a long session, and then we're going to the strip club, and I'm gonna see if I can get Carmen to go out with me. No, I don't know.
Are you holding the mic a little far away? It's kind of hard to hear you.
I'm sorry, my back is hurting, so I'm trying to lie down on my back while talking. I guess that's not working.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you could lie down, just kind of keep it close to your face.
Um, yeah, I don't know if turning it upside down, but yeah, Steve, we'll have to figure this out. I'm sorry, I didn't really. We'll have to get your arrival. I wanted to actually see your plane landing, and then I got to talk to my cameraman because I don't know. I mean, I wanted the dashboard cam. We're just the three of us just BSing in the car.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if he has this setup. He's got his $5,000 drone camera, but like he could use the GoPro for the video, but then he said the GoPro sound is bad. So
okay.
I need to work.
I wonder if he could put a different microphone in and just use the GoPro and then link them.
Yeah, that's possible.
I mean, I don't know. If I've thought of it, he probably hasn't.
This might be just scaled down to us just having a little study session and then BSing, each of you getting interviewed separately, talking about poker, talking about, well, do you think Mike will survive in poker? And then all of us doing something together. Like I said, I feel like I'm a lot poorer than I was 6 weeks ago when I started planning this out. So yeah, I'm not going to be hiring a helicopter to have a shot of, Carlos going to doing whatever. But, yeah, it'll be fun. We'll figure something out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the weather next week. I'm flying in the 11th, and so let's see. This episode will. Oh, what day is today? This should be easy. Okay. Yeah, this episode will come out, and then a few days later, I'll be. If the weather's good, I'll be landing in San Diego. So that'll be fun.
Okay, perfect.
That'll be a long flight. I've flown to Vegas. This might be. I don't know if it'll be as long as Vegas, but it'll definitely be like one of the more congested routes because I'm going to. There's a couple ways I could go. I could fly from. Okay, if you guys can picture, if you're listening in like the UK right now, you probably picture the side of California on the coast. I can either fly inland, basically over the desert and then straight down to San Diego, or I can take the coast and fly along the beach. But there is just airports everywhere and airspace, and I basically have to fly over LAX at a certain altitude in this little corridor, and so it definitely takes some more planning, but it'd be more direct.
Oh, okay.
Or I could go out over the desert and then just kind of shoot down and miss all that special airspace and stuff. I don't know which way I'm going to go.
So how long a flight is it?
I'm guessing it's probably going to be an hour and a half.
Okay, well, that's not too bad.
No, it's not bad. It's an active flight. It's not like going out to Vegas where you're just kind of cruising for 80 miles and then you make a slight left turn of about, 20 degrees and then you cruise for another 90 miles. Like this one, like you're consistently talking to people and making sure you're in and out of airspace and at the right altitude and like that. So it'll be challenging, but fun. So,
you and Carlos got to get a hotel room.
Yes. What would you recommend?
I don't know, something
between a nit and a cheapskate. Like
I was gonna say, there's probably like a Best Western,
Okay.
$60 a night or something you can get.
that'd be
Nothing.
perfect.
I mean, there is a couple real dives for $30 a night probably, but you don't want that.
No, then the car will get broken into and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's about that. Oh, that was the other thing from the Chris Wallace episode. I didn't realize your wife has got a new job.
Yes. Yeah. She's going down to Dallas on the 7th, Super Bowl Sunday.
That part. Did you say she's leaving for 6 weeks?
6 weeks. Yeah.
This like they have. Is this like a training period they have for the job that long?
Exactly. Yeah. She got a job as a flight attendant, so she's going down there for 6 weeks, and they're basically, at least when she did it for Columbia, I think they had one day off in like a month and a half, and I think it's going to be the same for this. At least the information she can gather on the internet. It sounds like they go down there for 6 weeks. They are doing training every day. They're even doing. I mean, they got to train for like each plane that they're going to fly on, and the emergency procedures of each one, and then how to deploy all the what are they called? The rafts, in case you land in the water. They even
Sure.
put them through a survival class. Like if you crash into the mountains and by some act of God you guys survive, and then the flight attendants are trained in like basic survival stuff. So it's a pretty in-depth training. But she's going to be down there for 6 weeks doing that, and then afterwards she'll get based. I'm guessing, but I mean, if she speaks Spanish, Portuguese, and English, so I gotta believe they're gonna have her flying down to South America and back up. I mean, why would you? It wouldn't make any sense to fly her to Japan. You know what I mean?
This is quite a change in your life, though. Here,
it's pretty big. She's been pretty stressed about it. It's gonna be different having her gone for that long. I'm gonna miss her a lot. When she was down in Colombia visiting her family for a month, that was tough. This is gonna be even longer than that. But I think it'll be a pretty good standard of living increase too. We'll have dual incomes coming in. We won't be able to do the Amazon and eBay business quite as much. I'm gonna keep doing that while she's gone, but just not nearly on the same scale. I'm basically gonna devote one day a week to it. I'll go down, price the items, bring them back, ship them off, and then be done. I'm not gonna get I'm probably gonna be doing a third of what we did together, just because I won't have time for anything else if I do. But I do like selling this stuff. I mean, like today we got a shipment that came in, and I sold. How much did we sell today? We sold like 30 squatty potties, a bunch of mattress covers, a whole bunch of stuff. It was cool. It's neat seeing that. You pick up. I bought like 30 squatty potties last week, and now they're already there, and people are buying them, and it's cool. It's cool. It's neat. Each one are making $5 or whatever it is, and it's pretty neat. Pretty neat. But,
Steve, it's people like you that make this country great.
Thank you.
Capitalists are keeping us afloat here for a while, anyways.
Yes. Yeah.
Until global warming and all the other problems hit us at once, and we'll all be. Anyways,
Yep.
Yeah, that is weird though. I don't. So you're gonna. I'm assuming you're gonna go down there just a couple times to visit during her 6 weeks, or.
I hope so. I don't know if I'll be able to go down and visit her. I would like to go down, halfway through it, 3 weeks out or whatever, and go see. But if it's anything like the training she had down in Colombia, I don't think that. They like cut off. It's almost kind of like paramilitary, at least from what she experienced down there. So we'll have to see what it's like and see if I can, or if they even allow that, or I don't know. So it sounds kind of like boot camp. So I don't know what.
This will provide us with some interesting stories in the future here.
I think it will. Yeah.
Can the young
American
couple
Airlines
here,
compound?
Yeah, exactly.
Horny husband on the outside of the gates. But, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, it's definitely going to be big changes. We don't know where she's going to get based. She could get based in Dallas or Miami, or.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, how would that work?
Well, they usually work, at least the flight attendants we talk to, they usually work like 4 days on, and then they have 3 days off, and then they'll work like 3 days on, and then they have 4 days off.
If they're based in Miami, she's not going to take her 3 days off to fly across the country for one night.
That's another thing you can do, is you can kind of do shift trades like we do on the fire department. So you can kind of stack your days and work 10 days in a row, or work 2 weeks in a row, 14 days in a row. And then you get like 10 days off or 2 weeks off. So if you do a bunch of trades like that, and I could do the same at work, then you can kind of plan your schedules like that to make it a little bit more, manageable. Because otherwise she's got to, she'd basically drive down to LAX, fly over to Miami, then her work week starts, and she works for 4 days, renting a room there in Miami. And then she flies home, and then she flies back to LAX, then drives home up here to Oxnard, and then she's home for 2.5 days. And then does the whole thing over again for 3 days, and then comes home for 4. Or you can stack it up and work a week and a half, and then you have a week and a half off. That's a little more manageable.
Yeah, I don't know. It all sounds, if she's based in Dallas or Miami, how many of you guys are going to be spending 7 or 8 days a month together at most?
I would think a little bit more than that. Like if she's, well, that's a good point because I'm going to be working too.
You can be honest with me, Steve, here.
Okay.
You happy to see less of the wife here? What's going on? I mean, why the hell is she I mean, it's not like this is a super lucrative job, or it leads to. I mean, if she wants to be a pilot, this doesn't help her become a pilot.
I've expressed
I mean, why
that.
not just get a job at nearby home, even if it's less money, and she spends time doing the Amazon. I mean, even if it's, yeah, I don't know.
It would get her being
You
a
guys,
pilot
I guess
faster.
she's like, you guys are very money obsessed about making sure, which is good. The opposite, I'm the opposite of that, and I'll be, it doesn't take long for me to be totally destitute, but I don't know if she's making, I mean, what does she make doing this job? First, starting off, you're probably 40K a year.
I think so. I think that's probably pretty accurate.
I mean, why not be a hostess in a restaurant for 20K a year and just more time on, is that, yeah, I don't know. I just find this strange. Like I wouldn't, this is just me. I don't understand the point of being married if you're going to be that little time apart. But I guess if your plan is still to be retired in the next few years, then, bust your ass now and reap the rewards later. Or when two people have such a powerful bond, they don't need the physical presence. But
I don't know about that. That whole thing, absence makes the heart grow stronger. I think that
okay,
that's a load of crap. But for me, I was talking to her about the same thing, and I said, it seems like you would become a pilot faster if you just continue doing the Amazon thing and just fly out of here. That business is paying for the plane and run that. And I think for her, she came, and I only realized this probably about 2 weeks ago, because for the last year I've just never understood, like, why are you keep putting in applications as a flight attendant? Like, what do you care? That's not what you want to do. And I think for her, it's a maybe like a feeling of self-worth. Like she feels like she needs like a job. Like she came from being a flight attendant in her country and flying all around the world. One day being in Spain and the next day being in freaking Brazil and the next day like just consistently like that. And then she comes over here and she feels like she's just cooped up in this little house, and I think for her, she kind of needs this to get out and to, go travel. I mean, she likes to travel just like I do, and she's kind of been pinned up here in the U.S., not able to leave because she finally just got her green card now. So she can start leaving the country without having to have 30 documents before to make sure that she can get back in. And, I think for her, this is like more of a mental, how can I put it? Like for mental good, like for her mental mindset.
Self-esteem. Yeah,
Yes.
being the hostess in a restaurant is humiliating for her or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, especially. Yeah. I mean, it'd be like, you coming from the post office or me coming from the fire department and then having to go to a whole new country and we start out as waiters. It'd be a tough pill to
Right.
swallow.
Yeah. Yeah, Bed Bath and Beyond experience. I understand that. But I mean, if you have, yeah, I don't know, Steve.
Yeah.
I find it strange. I got to be honest here. We'll see what.
Well, we'll see how it goes. I'm trying
Well,
to be optimistic. I think it'll be good. It'll be good for her, self-esteem and feeling like she's kind of part of the workforce again.
well,
And now that I'm taking over the Amazon business, I'm starting to see why she wasn't quite as enthusiastic over the last few months that she was when she first started it. And now that I'm taking over the computer part of it and understanding how to input all the data and all that stuff, now I get it. Like it's some of the stuff I'm actively looking, like some of my neighbors, I brought them over and showed them how to do some of this stuff, and I'm looking for like a really good employee that can do a lot of that aspects of the job that I really don't care for. So
right.
we'll see. We'll see. I can see her frustration with that after over a year of it. And I'm still pretty enthusiastic about it, but I imagine in the next year and a half, if I haven't plugged those spots with other employees, I think I'll probably have the same outlook. But in the meantime, it's fun.
Why do I feel like you're going to have a couple Guatemalan children as hostages living in your basement, working for nothing here?
Just a full sweatshop.
Yeah, I feel there's. I think I'm just afraid that anything for a Buck Barton here is going to step over the line at some point and get caught by Uncle Sam in some sort of malfeasance.
Oh, we had we had our taxes done today, and we were there with the tax guy, and we were going over some stuff, and what the hell did he say? He said like he was talking to Alejandra, and he said something to the effect of like, well, okay, next time when you do the Amazon eBay business, we're going to separate these two columns, and we're going to do that because this is their first time filing taxes. They don't have to do that down in Colombia. They I don't know. Apparently, you just don't have to pay taxes. She said only if you make up above a certain amount, like basically the wealthy pay taxes and everyone else just pays sales tax. But anyhow, he said if you're anything like your husband, and it sounds like you're going to be, because he's your mentor, you're going to start saving receipts for everything, because every tax time I pull out just a freaking wad of receipts and I read them off. $4.38, $12.98, just all the way down.
How are these receipts tax deductible for you? What do you have yourself incorporated? I don't understand.
No, so
You're,
like
you're
what
fire.
I'll do. Okay, so for like the fire job, for the fireman job, what I'll do is I'll save receipts for any uniform stuff. So like if I buy underwear or socks, that's going as part of my uniform. Now, like buying T-shirts and things like that, that doesn't go a part of it. But if they are T-shirts for work, then I'll write that off. So I got all those receipts for that. As far as for the rental properties, anytime I go out to Las Vegas, where the rental properties are, that's a tax write-off. So I write off the mileage. You get 57.5 cents this year for every mile that you drive. So every mile going out to Vegas and every mile coming back is a tax write-off. Any hotels or food that I have out there in Las Vegas is a write-off. Okay, and then for the Amazon business, every mile that we drive down to the liquidation store to pick up the stuff, and every mile that we drive back, that's a write-off.
Why don't you just actually put your hand and middle finger in a printer and take a picture of it and send it to Uncle Sam? Because your tax write-offs here are just comical here. Oh my God.
Oh, this is the game. This is how you play it.
You just better hope. I mean, eventually there's going to be a military dictatorship in this country with me in charge, and rich people are going to just get stomped on.
Well,
you're going to get a pass, Steve. Of course, you're not going to endure physical, but like some of your property is going to be appropriated for the good of the country. I got to be honest here.
Okay.
For 20 years of you writing off Vegas trips as you go and count cards. God.
That's why I bought out there, because I love poker so much. I know that I'm going to be going back and forth a lot, so it's a write-off. But it's just a win-win. Yeah.
Where'd you get this element of your personnel? Like, I assume this, like, even at age 18, you knew like the gas prices everywhere around town, had to save 4 cents on a gallon of gas. I mean, on a tank of gas. Have you always been hyper vigilant of these things? Is that a family trait?
I definitely got it from my dad. It's funny. My wife and her mom have a nickname for me, and I just realized it a few weeks ago.
Please don't say Captain Kicks or Mr. Kicks Senior or something.
No, it has nothing to do with the cat. No, it's Flecha Veloz, which means like it doesn't translate very well in English, but it means fast arrow. Like, that's so true. But I think I definitely got it from my dad. He he kind of instilled in me. I remember as a very young kid, I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and he was already talking to me about retirement and like how you have to set aside money for retirement, and like you should get into stocks or something, like investments and things like that. And I remember as a kid him showing me the mortgage statement, and he would show me that every month, like, this month we paid $500 in principal and $498 in interest, and then the following month we paid $497 7 in interest and 501 in principal. So see how every month it's going up and we're paying more in principal and less in interest. That's good, and things like that. He was always very, if you can buy the same thing for $5, why would you pay 10 over here?
Right.
One thing he really taught me, and I've yet to disprove this, is he said, whenever you're hiring someone for a job, there's 3 things that you're looking for. He said there's good, there's fast, and there's cheap. And he said pick 2 because that's all you get. If it's good and fast, it ain't gonna be cheap. And if it's cheap, it's good, and good, it's not gonna be fast. And you know what? So far, he's been right. That seems to be very true. But I think that would definitely be where I get it, is from my dad and also my grandfather too.
7 generations of Barton screwing over Uncle Sam here, squeezing every nickel out of their...
No matter how much taxes you pay, it's never going to be enough. We're freaking 16 or $20 trillion in debt.
Right.
No matter how much you pay, it'll never be enough.
When I see you at the Rio cracking open a $9 Heineken, laughing maniacally to yourself.
Saying this is a write-off.
Basically, yeah. I've paid 6 cents towards that beer, pretty much, or the taxpayers have.
Probably, yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, the way I look at it is, it's a game. It's a game.
Right.
That's all it is.
Well, I'm going to have to get smarter with that for sure, too. So, yeah, I know I got no problem with this. Anyways, speaking of games, Steve.
Yes.
Why don't we get a taste of here? We'll go back to like Steve in high school to Steve meeting David D'Angelo for the first time.
Okay.
Does that sound good? Can we start the beginning of your journey?
Yeah, let's do a little teaser here, and then we'll get really deep into it. I feel kind of awkward talking about this with Jonah in the same room sleeping, and I don't feel like getting sprayed with Lysol right now. Maybe we can put off the juicy details for maybe when I'm down there with you, Carlos, or the one after that. But yeah, we could dive into that section.
Okay. Well, just quickly, which episode was it where we talked a little bit about Steve here used to get people used to pay him to learn how to pick up women, and he had his own little journey from geekdom to being quite skilled in the area of women. So yeah, I wanted to hear more about it. We heard a little bit about it before.
Yes,
but, we were, there's so many questions here the American people demand to know.
Okay, if you don't know which one we're talking about, it's episode number 51. It's called How to Get a Woman's Phone Number in 30 Seconds. And so probably best off going to that one. That's probably going to be, I guess, part 1. Maybe this will be part 2, and then we'll go into part 3 somewhere down the road. Maybe next episode, maybe 2 after that. We'll just, we fly by the seat of our pants. Right. Let's see. Okay, so high school.
I mean, you were probably, the people don't change that much. You're kind of the same guy as you were now, right? You're a likable guy, probably a lot of friends, no?
That's pretty accurate. Yeah, I was kind of the kid that, I had friends from all the groups. There were the goth kids that hung out. I was friends with them. There was the skater kids. There was the surfers, and I was friends with all those guys. The jocks, girls, everyone. And but as far as pickup went, I had my first girlfriend in, it was either freshman or sophomore year. No, I think it was freshman year. No, I take that back. My first girlfriend was in 8th grade. I was in 8th grade. She was in 6th grade. And
what the heck?
Yeah, I've always liked the younger girls, Mike. Some things never change.
I wish I was like smarter here, because right away here we could really delve into some issues here. 8th and 6th grade, man, that's okay.
Yeah, well, I think I was 14.
The 2-year difference between like 12th grade and 10th grade is pretty average, but 8th and 6th grade immediately, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
She was cute. And let's see. Yeah, I think I was 14 and she was 12, I think. Or how old are you in 8th grade? 16? No, I must have been 14.
12.
Yeah. And then I went to high school.
So how far does that go?
That went on for, I think, a year and a half.
I mean, how far do you go, physically with a 12-year-old, Steve, with a child?
Oh.
I mean,
Well, I was 14. I wasn't much older.
you were a child too. I know. Second base, or I mean, where we were.
Just kissing.
Okay.
I remember we went out. I think we went out for just a few months, and then afterwards, I went to high school. We broke up after a few months just because she was 12 and I was 14, and we had absolutely no idea what the hell we were doing. And then I went to high school, and when I was 15, I met a girl, Pamela Lestrico,
Ooh,
and
she's a feisty one. I can already tell.
yeah, you can tell. Huh? How'd you know
Estrico? I don't know.
that?
She
Yes.
would not put up with your crap. I understand now. Okay, go ahead.
No, probably not. No, and we yeah, right off. I remember it was just one of those awkward, stilted moments of I heard that she liked me and she heard that I liked her, and I went up and said something to the effect of like, "Will you go out with me?" And then she said yes, and that was that. And then we were boyfriend and girlfriend for 2 months, and we never did anything other than kiss, and that was it.
Right.
We ended
But
up
how about the
breaking up.
guys you knew? Was there like a lot of pressure to like actually have sex? I mean, this was
Uh,
did you have friends at the time who were getting laid?
no, I don't think so. I don't think anyone was getting laid until 10th grade,
Okay.
till we're like 16, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, yeah. And but I wasn't, and I ended up going back after Pam and I broke up. I went back with my childhood sweetheart, Nicole, and we started going out for probably like a year and a half after that. I think it was from like freshman year, all that summer, and then I think like halfway or three quarters through sophomore year, and all the while still not having sex. And it really stemmed from um, what is that? She went to church, and I started going to church, and at church they preach that you're not supposed to have sex, and so that's just what I did.
Right.
It took me until probably I remember we broke up, and then I never really had any girlfriends after that in high school, if I remember correctly. I don't think I did.
Hmm.
Oh, I take that back. No, I did have one, kind of a girlfriend. We'd go out on date. Yeah, basically a girlfriend. Um, but she ended up breaking up with me because I didn't want to have sex. So that was. But her name was Katie, and we went out for probably sophomore and junior year, maybe
Okay.
even senior. Yeah, I think senior as well too.
So Steve, did you have the normal it would be no surprise to you that my adolescent, if I was in love with the same girl for like, 7 or 8 years, just agonizing over it every single day.
Really?
Over if she's, look what she's thinking about me, this, that, the other.
And how old were you?
This is from like age 12 to like 19. I was in love with the same girl pretty much from like
Holy
sixth
shit.
grade till like, I think it was about like sophomore year in college. I finally like moved on.
Wow, you're dedicated. Okay.
But it's the normal adolescent agony, of course, from someone of my sort of disposition was going to be times 10.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just curious, are there any of those kind of moments in this where you're like desperately lonely and whatever, or desperate, was this this doesn't sound like this was a difficult time for you. It's just, you just weren't getting laid, right? I mean,
No, I would say it was. Where it really came down to it was I was either like 21 or 22. And the girl that okay, let me back up a little bit. I was so religious.
I'm sorry, who was the last girlfriend, age 16 girlfriend? You jumped ahead.
Yeah, I was 16, she was 14. No, I was 18, she was 16, whatever.
Okay.
I was 2 years older than her. We were both in the same grade, but I was one of those guys that started school at the absolute, like, one of the last birthdays, and she was one of the ones that started at the beginning, so we were in the same grade, but I was almost 2 years older than her. That kind of
Right.
thing.
Okay.
But I was so religious all throughout high school that I wouldn't, even go to third base. And then I went to a party, and it's actually a party of a guy that I work with now, who's my captain. We're both the same age within a couple of weeks, and we've known each other since we were probably 16. And when I was 18, he invited me to come to a disco party. at his parents' house because his parents were out of town. His name's Jeff. And I said, all right, sure, because I'd been to a bunch of parties, but I was such a good Christian boy that I would go and I would give rides to people that had been drinking, and so they could get a ride home and get home safe. I felt like I was being God's example or something.
Can we pause for 1 second here?
Yes, go ahead.
We might have to do a couple poker hands.
We probably should.
The breath has just been knocked out of me here. Steve's holy mission here.
Yes, I'm very different now.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. No.
I remember being at that party, and for whatever reason, I think what it was I knew no one there except for Jeff, and I just felt like all of a sudden I was free, and there were guys out in the backyard smoking cigars, and so I did too, and there was guys out in the backyard with chewing tobacco, and I put some in too. And then the next thing I knew, Jeff handed me a beer, and I'll never forget, the beer looked like a football. It must have been around like Super Bowl time or something, but it was a Coors beer that looked like a football. The pattern on it and everything. And I popped it, and man, we got so hammered that night. We were dancing on his bar top with freaking flinging our shirts at girls and stuff.
This is your 18 right now? This is the first time you drank?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Not the first time I drank, but the first time I drank heavily like that since I'd become a Christian. Before that time, I didn't drink at all as a Christian. And then the next day, I had to go to church, and I was in charge of the sound system, so like when the preacher would go up there and talk, I'd turn the microphone on, and there was a little band up there that would play, and I would make the sound go up a little bit on the drums and a little bit down on the guitar until it sounded right and all that. And I was back in the booth, and I was so hungover. I mean, I'd like gone to sleep at 3 a.m. and then had to wake up at 6 and drive down to the church. And I mean, just reeking of booze, wearing the same clothes that I wore the night before, reeking like cigars. Didn't even brush my teeth. Probably still had chewing tobacco in my mouth. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is so hypocritical right now. I cannot do this. I'm like, I need to choose one or the other. I got to either be the good Christian boy, or I'm going to go have fun. And in my mind, there was no in between. I'm like, well, I'm going to go have fun. This was a blast last weekend, and I want to do that as much as possible. So that was my last day at church. After having gone every Sunday for the last 4 years, I just up and quit. And after that, I joined the fire academy, started talking to girls, and still I'd missed all that time in high school to when everyone else was learning these skills. I had missed all that. I was always the friend, the girls would look at me as their brother, but there was no attraction there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I realized that this was missing because I was seeing it with other guys, but I didn't have that. And at that point, I got an email, and it was actually an email from my dad. And my dad doesn't remember sending it, but it was from David D'Angelo.
Okay.
And he said, "Hey, Steve, I saw this, and I thought you might find it interesting." And it was an email with a link to one of his ebooks or his website or something. And I went there, and instantly the light bulb went off. And I thought to myself, you've got to be freaking kidding me. You can learn this shit? This is the best news since sliced bread. I just thought I was damned to hell because, I had absolutely no skills to talk with girls. But the fact that you can sit down and study this stuff and learn it, I had no idea.
Right.
And so at that point, I just devoured every piece of material that I could. And it just turned into this 10-year obsession where at the end of it, well, you kind of know the story from there, but yeah, that's basically where it came to. I'm like, well, I've been studying counting cards and blackjack. Why don't I just pick up a book and study this? You got to be kidding me. Is it really that easy? And then it just came down to, the guy that works the hardest wins and
right.
The guy that studies the most wins, just like in anything else in life. And that's what it blossomed into.
Huh. Well, that's pretty cool. So it sounds like the point that you were introduced to this, it sounds like it was more your passion for studying, your passion for mastery, as much as some sort of point in your life of desperation where you needed to, my God, this is the only thing I can do to meet girls. I mean, you were probably gonna be developed in a semi-competent manner in that. It was just you just weren't doing it aggressively. No, I'm sure this stuff helped, obviously, a bit. Yeah, it's just
it did.
just from reading the game, it's like a lot of people who came into this community came in through like desperation. You know what I mean? This
Yeah.
is like, God, help me out here, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where yours, well, I guess that's part of it. That was certainly part of the equation, but you also, right away, you're fascinated by the psychology of it and all this social dynamics,
Yeah.
which
It
you still
was.
are. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't gotten that email. I
Hmm.
don't know. I don't know if I would have even known that I mean, maybe eventually I would have stumbled across that, but there was just something about the way he worded. I can't tell you what the email was about. I don't know, but there was something about the way that email was worded that it just captivated me, and I thought, if this is possible to learn and get good at this, then I'm going to do it, and it's just a matter of time before I am. You know?
So what was, do you remember the first thing you read? What was the first thing where you're like, not just that, wow, this guy knows his shit. Do you remember the first little nugget of wisdom that you saw where like
Yes.
you do? Okay.
I was he had a newsletter, and I was reading all through his newsletter, and I hadn't committed to buying. He had these videos, these DVDs that showed you, it was like 12 hours of just pickup artists just talking. And he
Okay.
brought a whole bunch of them into a convention center, filmed it, and basically just kept reselling
Right.
those things. And I hadn't committed to getting that yet, but in this newsletter, he would put out this newsletter like every, I don't know, twice a week. And he'd just give little tips, and guys would write in, and kind of like they do with our podcast. They write in about a hand that they had a trouble spot in. Well, they would do the same thing with his newsletter. And one recurring theme that he always had was like, if you liked a girl, don't tell her that you like her, and ask if she likes you in return. And he's like, just don't do that. It just doesn't work. And I thought, well, that's bullshit. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Of course that would work, you know. And so of course I challenged that, and there was this girl that her name was Hannah, and I was really attracted to her. She was at I was a rookie fireman at Oxnard, and she was a dispatcher in the she was one of the dispatchers that would call out the calls, you know. And her and I hung out for, oh God, this is so pathetic, probably like 3 months. And we were spending the night at, I think it was my brother's girlfriend's house in Vegas. And we were out there, and we were sleeping on like a blow-up mattress in the living room. And something came about when we're there, and I thought, oh, this is how I can disprove that guy David D'Angelo. And I asked her, we'd never kissed or done anything. Like there was always those key moments, like our eyes would lock, and we'd look at each other, and then I would kind of get nervous and just blow it, not actually go for the kiss. There was probably dozens of those that I just completely missed or ignored, And so then now, months later, when we're sharing a blow-up mattress on the floor of my brother's girlfriend's house, and I thought, okay, well, now that she, looking back, now that she just completely looks at me like a brother instead of anyone that she's attracted to, I asked her, I said, do you think there's ever a chance for you and I and this and that? And she just immediately just said, no. And I'm like, oh shit. I actually went outside and I stood out there for a little while, and I'm like, maybe that guy David D'Angelo knows what the hell he's talking about.
Right. Where conversely, if you just gave her just out of nowhere, gave her a vicious slap in the ass and said, here's what we're doing tonight.
Yes. Then that would have had a chance of success. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But instead, I was such a wussy that, but I'm glad that happened. I'm glad I met her, and I'm glad that I decided to go against the grain and do that. And it blew up in my face, because that was the spark that I thought, okay, maybe I really need to pay attention to these newsletters, and maybe whatever DVDs or videos this guy has put out, like, he actually knows what the hell he's talking about. And yeah, that was it. At that point, boom, I bought his ebook, and then like a week later, boom, I bought his videos, and then I bought this. It was like a monthly interview with dating gurus, and I bought that, and I listened to every one, and then I found other dating gurus on there that had other stuff, and I'd become fascinated about that little aspect of it for 6 or 8 months, and then kind of master that, and then zoom out to some other portion, and just kind of keep jumping around like that. But he was the start. Was David D'Angelo. He was the, he kind of took a snapshot of the basics of what you need to know in every area, and then you can kind of delve into which avenue you want to get better at and master.
Okay. Wow. So did you actually meet, did you go to any of these seminars too, or you just through literature, or did you actually meet David D'Angelo?
No, I never went and never met any of them. I'm trying to think if there's any pickup artists that are famous that I would have met, and I can't think of any. No, none mentioned in the game or anything like that. I basically just devoured the books and practiced, and went out with buddies, and they practiced as well. And some of them, actually, I'd say almost all of them, were not nearly as into it as I was, but
Right.
It was still fun. It was still fun.
Now, you said you started getting into this when you were like 19?
Probably.
How old were you? A little older?
19 or 20, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe 21.
Okay, I'm 20. Okay, because you said you didn't lose your virginity until you're like 21. So
I didn't lose my virginity till I was 21. I remember it was with actually my girlfriend from high school, Katie. She was in college down in Long Beach, and I remember it was down in one of those in one of the little dorms where they share, like, it's like a twin bed, and it's like a 5 foot by 8 foot room, and they somehow managed to fit two twin beds in there and two students. It's one of those.
right.
And yeah, we're down there. We went out. I think we went partying the night before, and we ended up having sex in the morning. I didn't even finish. It was not satisfying at all. But that was when I first lost my virginity, and then.
So, but did you exhibit a lack of tenderness that night? Was there a part of you that was playing the game where it's just like, okay, just pretend you don't give a shit. Let's see what happens.
Oh no, I didn't even know the game at that point.
Okay, this was just a chick.
Yeah, this was pre-game.
Okay.
Yeah, at the. I didn't get into the game until after that. Then I got a job with CDF up in Northern California doing brush fires and stuff. And I got I had a girlfriend up there. Not a girlfriend. I had a girl that I was seeing, and another girl two girls that I was seeing up there. And then when I came back, yeah, I think that's when I got into the game. But I might have even been a fireman, started being a fireman before I got into the game. I can't remember. But it was around 20, 21, 22, something like that.
Oh, okay.
It must have been 21 at least, because, yeah, I don't remember doing it before that. Yeah.
Pretty fascinating here.
But so hopefully that's a little teaser for.
Yeah, eventually I'm gonna want to hear some more details.
Yes. Write out a whole bunch of questions that you got. We'll get. I don't know why. I always get nervous whenever I talk about this part of my life. I'm not sure why.
Well, can we jump it? Well, okay. I guess we can't jump ahead to the threesomes. We got to but where'd you learn about that? Like, how do you get a girl who's never done that to try that? Can you just give me a little teaser with that?
Okay.
When you're saying, yeah. I mean, I get, obviously there's literature out there on that too somewhere. There's information, or is this your own
both
seminal observations on it? Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Basically. Okay. In a nutshell. Then we'll do a hand. Okay.
Okay. Let's pretend. Well, give us one you actually have, whether it's a girl you're dating, or, I mean, is this something you can do with just two women you meet in a bar who've never done this before, or is it more?
No, let me clarify.
Okay.
I never did. Well, I take that back. I had a threesome with a married couple.
Oh dear.
But well, it was for her, not for him and I. It wasn't like that. Not like what you think. And other ones overseas.
Right.
But as far as like here in the States, I got very close, and then that's when I basically went and saw the therapist, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life? And then I got on a different path. But
okay.
What I learned up to that point was you basically you want to find a girl that could entertain the thought of being with another girl.
Was the married guy good looking? Oh, I'm sorry. We'll get that back. Sorry, Steve. I know exactly what it was.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
You don't have to explain it to me.
Okay.
Okay. You have to like. So you just kind of in a jokey, teasy, flirty way try to get a girl to admit that she's had thoughts about other women. Would that be a good way to start?
Well, I always kind of just did it with like if you see an attractive woman on the street, you ask your date or your girlfriend, like, do you think she's cute? That'll tell you right there,
Right.
And then you find out if the two of you have the same taste.
Because
that's important.
Right. Of course, I'll take anything, so that's not relevant to my particular situation.
That's another big part of it too. Is you have to be picky.
Right.
Like you have to have this mindset that if they're not at least an 8 on your scale. Now your scale is going to be different than mine, and mine's going to be different than the other guys. But you personally have to find them very attractive.
Sure.
And if you don't, then kind of everything you're doing is just not congruent and fluid. And they'll sniff it out. Anybody will. They can, people can tell, men and women, especially women, whether you're being genuine or not.
Right.
And if you're not genuinely attracted to them, then I think you're just climbing an uphill battle that you're not going to win.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm trying to think if there's any teasing information here we could have. So, yeah. So, how'd you get? How'd you get students? First of all, is there did you just advertise in like the local paper? Having trouble with kind of be a little mini David D'Angelo? You started your own little.
How did I do that? I got to correct you. None of the students paid. I was just to the point to where I was starting to. I kind of had a bit of an entourage.
I got you.
And I was just starting to get to the point to where I was getting students.
Right.
And how did I do that?
You were a mentor to people who were younger than you, who were trying to go on the same little journey.
Not all of them were younger than me. I remember I was probably 30, and I think the oldest guy was like 44. But
pretty soon I'm going to be going to a bar every night with this 22-year-old who's going to be looking at me with contempt. Try not to ruin it for the rest of us. Lurch.
Yeah, no. I remember how I met my first student. We went to a girlfriend and I went to a speed dating event, and I basically told her, I said, I want to teach guys how to pick up girls, and I think this would be a good avenue to go. Did you want to go to a speed dating thing? It might be fun. And I don't know why, but for some reason she agreed to go. And sure enough, I found a couple of guys there. I figured that would be a good place to find guys that were looking to meet women and that were single, and I was right. And met a few of the guys there, and then they wanted to learn, so I said, probably like the mall or maybe like a grocery store or something would be best. And so I don't remember if we went to the mall or a grocery store. We went to so many different places, but I'd take them there, and then they would tell their friends, and then it kind of got to be like I remember at one point there was like 6 of us, and we kind of huddled in a group, almost like a powwow, and then like we'd look around, and one guy would be like, "Oh, okay, she's cute," and then he would just take off on a beeline, and then we'd all kind of like sausage links just follow after her and just like hover around and watch him talk to this poor girl.
That's pretty cool. So you didn't. Who needs money here? It was just the cool act of having others turn to you for advice.
It was pretty neat. It made me feel like those 10 years that I had been working towards it actually, had done something. And
Well, that's kind of funny, Steve. I'm telling you, you're missing out on the greatest joy of all time here, the fatherhood. But you've had many children.
Yes. Been a father to
many of them are out defiling waitresses at this very moment.
I'd be curious where some of them have went. If any of them are listening to this podcast, write me in. HeadsUpPokerPodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. And hopefully they've destroyed all that video. That'd be pretty embarrassing.
Oh, there's a lot more to go into that. Yeah, I need to hear that. Well, maybe we will actually have you try to teach me a few things while you're out here. So that'll be.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
Should we do one quick poker hand before we
let's
say
do a
goodbye?
quick poker hand. Let's give the guys some strategy. I know some people probably just fast forward to the strategy and they've completely blown by everything. So if you're still here with us, 6-4 suited. Okay. This is a 4-max tournament. It's a $30 buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
And we are 3-handed, but that does not mean we're down to the final table. We just have 3 people at this table. Blinds are 15-30. I have 105 big blinds, and the villain in this hand has 93. So we just have him covered. The button limps for 30. We're in the small blind with 4-6 suited. And I mean, assuming there's not some dynamic where he's always limping the button and we could steal here, we're probably always putting in another 15 chips into a 75 pot to see a flop.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we complete in the small blind, and the big blind complies, and he checks. So we go to the flop, 3-handed. We're in the small blind with 6 of clubs, 4 of clubs, and the flop comes out 2-6-6 with 2 diamonds. So we flop trips. There's a diamond draw out there, and we're first to act with 105 big blinds. The other 2 stacks are 93 and 105 big blinds. So what are you thinking here in the small blind? Are you leading? Are you checking? Or
I think both are fine. Although I think you want to try to build a pot, and if you can't, you can't. So, like, if I check, I might be check raising here,
okay,
rather than just check calling.
Okay.
Be greedy and try to not just squeeze a few big blinds in there, but you never know. Somebody might have a flush draw, or an overpair, and you might be able to stack them off. You never know, especially if you don't have. How many hands do you have on the competition here?
Okay, on both of them, they're both unknowns, but I have 14 hands on them, on each of them. The button is a 54-0, so he's limped over half the hands. He's limped 8 hands and raised none of them. The other guy is a 57-43. So the guy in the big blind is a 57-43 over 14 hands, so he's raised, what was that, 8 or 9 of them? Or no, I don't know what that is. He's raised like 6 of them and come in with 8 of them or something to that effect.
Right. Okay.
So not much information, but it could help. Yeah. So I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking either check call, check raise. I thought I could lead, but I figured they would just both fold, and then I would, yeah. So I went for the check. Big blind checks and button checks behind.
Okay.
So unfortunately, they don't bet. But the turn is the jack of diamonds. So now the board is 6-6-2, and the turn is the jack of diamonds. So we have 3 diamonds out on the board now. And Hero has 6-4 clubs. We got trips, but we got 3 diamonds out there. What first to act? What are you thinking?
I'd be betting.
Okay. What size are you thinking?
I don't know, probably pretty big, 70% a pot.
Okay.
Just charge him if either of them has a big diamond.
Okay.
Make them pay a little bit, and we want to get some chips in the pot there. Although obviously we don't have the nuts, so I'm sorry, how much is in the pot? 90 in the pot, so I would bet 65 or 70 or something.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I ended up going a little bit smaller. I knew that going over half was good, but I went 55. And we get a call from the big blind.
I think just to point out where you can bet early in tournaments is a lot of people aren't even like looking at that. Like late in a tournament, if you bet 3/4 a pot, it feels like a big bet. But early in tournaments, 90 chips just means that's like nothing out of your stack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think, there's no reason not to bet bigger earlier is my overall suggestion to people out there, I think.
I think you're right. I think there's something about that they, like, I bet I could bet, like, I bet I could bet. I would be willing to bet. I think I could have bet 80 or 85 there, and it would have been the same as betting 55. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, as long as you're less than the pot, I think you're right, especially in those early stages where the blinds are 10-20 or 15-30 or 20-40. Like, I think you're right. I don't even think they're really noticing that. They just kind of look at the pot and look at the bet, and if it's less, they either make their decision. They were going to call anyway, so they do, or they were going to fold anyway, so they do.
Like, well, yeah, just, what hands are calling you right now? Just try to think about that. And if you bet, even if you bet full, even if you bet 90, obviously every jack's calling.
Mm-hmm.
Probably every big diamond's calling. You might get like, nine of diamonds, ace of clubs to fold.
Yeah.
Might fold to 90 where they wouldn't to 50. Well, I still got an overcard and diamond draw, hard to say. But I would be betting here for sure.
Yeah. 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 I would, when he called, I was thinking, okay, that's a jack. That's another diamond. I'm thinking about the same like you, probably like 10 of diamonds plus. So the jack of diamonds is out there. So probably 10, queen, king, and ace of diamond. I think all flushes are in his range. Two diamond flushes, so he could have turned the flush. I don't think he's really raising there with the flush very often. He could be very easily checking a flush draw on the flop because he still has one guy left to act behind him. He doesn't want to get blown off his hand. I think all sixes are sixes raising there.
Sixes are going to bet the flop, I think. I could be wrong, but.
Well, I checked to him, and he's the next one to act on the flop, and he's got one person to act behind him. You think sixes are
there? Yeah, I mean, maybe not. I don't know. Of course, it's hard to put him on a 6 here, but because there's only one left in the deck. But yeah, no, I mean, I think 55 is fine though for a bet. I'm just throwing it out there that probably most of the hands he's calling 55, you would call 90.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to over the course of the 500,000 hands you're going to play this year for the grinders there. That's not giving up that big blind and a half is, meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah, any jack. I don't think he's just checking behind there with like any good pair. Do you like eights and above? I mean, three-handed, he's probably re-raising that pre-flop, or he's probably raising that pre-flop, so I think we can take a lot of those out of his range. Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good range. He's probably calling there with pocket deuces to give himself a boat. Okay, so he calls. The pot is now 200, and the river is the ace of clubs. So hero has 6 of clubs, 4 of clubs, and the board is, the flop was 6-6-2. The turn was the jack of diamonds, completing the flush draw, and the river is the ace of clubs.
That might be a very good river for you.
Okay.
Villain might have been stubborn with ace high.
Yeah.
And might have just hit his card. So I'd probably bet big. I'd bet near pot.
Okay.
Maybe not even a horrible spot for the overbet because you could have missed a flush. You might get called pretty light there. I think a jack has to call. I think a jack will call a big bet here.
Okay.
I could be wrong. A jack might call 450 if you 2.2x the pot.
Okay.
I mean, I know I get away with that quite a bit. The early stage is the overbet. When I'm playing well and really paying attention, people just don't like folding early. And I think it's worth the risk a lot of times. I could be wrong. You know what I mean? But I mean, of course, we don't know. He could have been slow. He could have hit his flush on the turn, obviously. So if you bet big, if you get re-raised, do you have the discipline to bet fold here? Although it'll hurt. I think it'll be probably the right move.
Okay. Yeah, I bet. I didn't bet as big though, but I like the way you're thinking. I think that yeah, I think King Jack is calling like a pot size bet here. And definitely Ace Rag is calling a pot size bet. Um, yeah, I like that. Okay, I made it half pot. 200 pot. I made it 99, and Villain makes it 330.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, I think he got a fold. I mean, I guess there's a chance that he probably wouldn't be limping ace king. Of course, you said this player had not raised at all. He was pure limping, right?
No,
The
no, no.
button,
That
the
was the
butt.
other. That was the other guy that folded.
Oh,
This
this is
guy,
the small. Oh, this is
this
the big
guy.
blind.
After 14
Okay.
hands, he was at 57.43.
If for some reason he stuck around the hand with an eight, would he raise for value an ace queen or any ace there? If he had the ace of diamonds, he stuck around for the flush. Would he raise when the ace hits the river, hoping you'll call him with the jack? So that's I wouldn't think he's got too many pure bluffs there, but he might. You never know. I don't know. I don't know, Steve, what you're supposed to do, but I know you're not. I know you're not going to re-raise.
No, we're never re-raising there.
So it's either call or fold.
Yeah.
Um, if you bet 200, you also get a little more information there.
Yep. That's why I like your overbet a lot, or not necessarily, but at least a pot size bet.
Because yeah, he thinks that you're maybe betting thinner value. He can bluff you more there. I don't know. So this is why I was saying you could bet big. It's because it's like early stages. You have a hand, and you're going to be like, "What the hell?"
That's so brilliant. I know.
You're going to be like, "Okay, I'll
I
have to
wish
pay
I
you
had the
off."
little Mikey on my shoulder telling me this while I was playing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to guess you're beat there because, like I said, early stages. If the guy is good, on the one hand, he's putting a lot of pressure on you, blah blah blah. But people are so infrequently folding pairs in these kind of spots, and obviously, you've got better than a pair. So, yeah, I guess I don't know, Steve. I know I would probably call, but I think it's a fold.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, in game I almost timed out, and I was thinking, okay, what the hell is he raising with there? I'm like, he's obviously raising any flush. He's raising any boat. Um, he's raising probably, like you said, something maybe like ace queen or ace king if he just somehow happened to limp and then get all the way to the river with that. Like, not pre-flop re-raise with the ace king or, and then I was thinking maybe he's raising there with ace jack. That might make sense to raise there with ace jack because I checked the flop and then kind of led small on the turn and then led a little bit here on the river. Just like, does a six really make sense in my range? I don't know.
I think it's either a bluff or he's got a monster, but
Yeah.
no, I don't think he's raising with ace king, but yeah, that's. I was just throwing that out there. Some players might do that, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't think he's got ace king or ace queen anyways. So certainly with a raggedy ace, I don't see how he could possibly raise. But
yeah.
People do crazy things.
Okay. I ended up folding. It just felt like I was beat, and then but I really like what you're saying about doing the overbet. I gotta experiment with that a little bit more.
Well, that's why I don't like if this guy for some reason hit the flush. I don't like his play either.
Yeah.
Just raise. I mean, the other guy might have trips.
Yeah.
He might win a monster pot there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've got to be. Yeah, I mean, like, late stage. Well, we just did a hand history review, and I kept on saying, I just want to add to the stack here. I'm totally fine stealing the blinds and antes here. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to. But early stages, you're going for people's stack.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess you're lucky you didn't donk lead if this guy had a 6 or something.
Yeah.
But you probably still wouldn't go bust there. If you donk lead and he bets, then you probably call and check call the turn, and then the river. Well, maybe you get away from it, um, but yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you bet big on the river, then he raises you. I mean, if you did my thing and bet 2x on the river and got raised, then he has to have it.
Yeah.
So at least you feel better about folding, but you would have lost more money there too. So I shouldn't.
Another part that kind of bugged me too was I was like, if in the odd case that he does have the case 6 with this turn and river of a jack of and an ace, we're now chopping, and I don't know. That's probably such a small part of his range, but he was in the big blind, so he could have absolutely
You could have jack
any.
6 for sure. Yeah.
He could have any 6. I mean, if he has 6-10, we're splitting, even though I have 6-4. Just with the other two, with the jack and the ace out there. But that's probably such a small part of his range, it doesn't even really factor in. But
yeah, like I said, your hand is maybe a little under-repped. No, not really. I mean, your range isn't capped. You could have flopped. You could obviously have a 6 in your hand. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I do think early in tournaments though, when you get in the habit of, okay, C bet 50%, like, well, how can I get him to, get 3 streets in, where you can even be a little greedier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of even like check raises, I'll check raise the nuts early in a tournament. Someone C bets 40, okay, 250.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like late in a tournament, you're never 5.5xing their C bet.
Yeah.
It's 3.5x maybe or something. You know what I mean? So
I bet against unknowns you could do that a lot bigger, and they would. You don't necessarily need to be balanced against a guy that you have 15 hands on.
Right. So, anyways, yeah, but I think you played it fine, and I just don't know how many bluffs he has in his range there. I mean, but you never know. There's so many times I'll be watching the game, and I'm like, well, this person obviously has to have it, and then they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you get the Bovada hand history 2 days later, and you're like, what? Are you kidding me? The guy 4-bet shoved was 6-5?
Right.
Okay, I laid down ace king. What just happened? Do I even know how to play this game? Yeah. But yeah, well, we should probably wrap this up. I gotta go to work tomorrow. It's already after 9:30.
Okay, Stevie, great fun as always.
Yes.
I'll see you in a few days, and we'll let everyone know about our your little trip down here. Hopefully, it's a good time.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's gonna be a blast. I'll bring the computer with the microphone, and you and me and Carlos will spit out an episode. I think
Will do, man.
Right on. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and you can check out our website, HeadsUpPoker.Poker. You can check out Mike on Twitter at Mike Snyderman. Check out me at HeadsUpPoker.Podcast. And go on if you guys been getting a bunch of questions about a push fold chart and how to use one, and it's basically for tournaments. So if you're a tournament player, and especially online, go to HeadsUpPoker.Poker, click on the little videos tab, and it'll be the one on the left. It says Steve's push fold chart. It'll tell you how to play a stack of 20 big blinds or less. And right next to it, you'll find Mike's video, his first video of a 3-part series, of which Carlos and I are going to go help him film episode 2. That'll be over there on the right. It's a pretty sweet 15-minute video, very funny, and will be a part of the second one. So thank you for tuning in, and here is your weekly motivational speech.
The most powerful motivational speeches that I have ever heard came from people who told me I couldn't do something. You know why? Because when they told me I couldn't do it, I was bound and determined to show them that I could. Tell me I can't do it. I will prove you wrong. I will show you.
We are not made to survive. We're not made to manage our pain or get through it. We're made to be creators of our lives. We can create anything. Anything we can dream about, we can create. How much of life do you feel like you control? Or how much does life control you? Do you tend to control more of what's going on or events controlling you? It's very easy to have those events start to take control unless we take control of what's between our ears, our own mind. You see, what you and I focus on massively affects how we feel, whether we're thriving or surviving. If you focus on what you can't control, if you focus on the past, if you focus on what's missing from your life constantly, that pattern of focus will make you frustrated, overwhelmed, depressed. Focus equals power. If you want to thrive, you got to focus on what you can control. You got to focus on the difference you can make. You got to focus on what's already in your life that you're grateful for.
Most people allow their fear of failure, 80%, allow their fear of failure to outweigh their desire to succeed. When you're willing to fail again and again and again, when you make up your mind to become unstoppable, when you make up your mind to become a no matter what person, then that will then give birth to a part of yourself that you don't know right now.
Set some higher goals. Reach for some higher purpose. Go for something beyond what you thought you could do. You've got to believe that tomorrow can be better than today. But here's the big one. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself.